We're speaking with Dan Pallesen today, and I'll give you a quick background on this. I heard Dr. Dan Pallesen, I should say, was on a program. He has a radio show nationally, and I heard some of his responses. There's two folks on that show, and I was really impressed with how Dan referred to money scripts and some of the things around money that holds us back. And Dan's in the wealth management business, but most of what I heard from him was really less about wealth management, more about just money and scripts. And so we talk about that a lot on the podcast. So Dan, welcome to the show.
Oh, so happy to be here, Bill. I've got a compliment to pay to you, and I need to be careful with how I word it because I want to say you've got an amazing voice for radio. I love listening to you. I love your voice. I know if you say you have a face for radio, that's an insult, but for you, I really enjoy listening to you, and I think you're on the right spot being behind a microphone.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. So when I heard you were talking about money scripts, and I want to dive deeply into that, at least to start with. And tell me what you've worked with people for a lot of years, and you've seen this thing come up, and it probably comes up in different ways. But just give me a general definition you would have of what is a money script, and maybe how it impacts us as we go through life in our businesses or in our management of our wealth. Just riff a little bit on that.
Yeah, sure. A money script is just like, an actor would read a script, and the script would dictate the flow of the movie or the show or the play that they're a part of. And so we have these scripts around money that have been written into our DNA at a very early age. This has been researched. I mean, there's a lot of backing behind this idea of money scripts. And what we are finding out is that our experiences around money, or the messages we receive about money at a very early age, stay with us through our entire lives. So you can look at our financial behaviors as adults, as older adults, and oftentimes trace it back to these scripts that are playing out unconsciously or subconsciously around money because of the experiences that we had or didn't have, or conversations we had or didn't have around money at a very early age. So a money script is simply what's wired into our DNA about money and how does it play out in our lives.
The hideous part of that is the subconscious nature of it, because it would be easy to say, oh, well, I know why I do that because of this. But if it's beneath the radar screen, it doesn't give you a chance really to be even aware of some of these scripts. Fair?
Oh, very fair. Very fair. Yeah. A lot of my work with folks and Bill, you shared, I'm a practicing wealth manager, financial advisor. I also have a background as a psychologist and a clinical psychologist. So I've been in both worlds, money management, therapy, treatment. And a lot of times it's just about how can we make the subconscious conscious, and how, are we willing to look within ourselves to truly understand why we do what we do. And around money, there's a lot that can be worked through if we're at least willing to look at what is underneath the conscious thoughts and actions there.
So do we look at our actions? Like, let's just say that I've got a client who's in sales, and they're a high achiever. They earn, let's just say, $200,000 a year, and they have a tremendous upside potential. Like they could earn 500,000 or whatever that is. And yet often those people don't do the things they need to do to get to that next level. And I often wonder, and I love the fact that you have background in clinical psychology, but I often wonder, are we stopping ourselves there? And I have that same thing. Sometimes I get to the point where, I'm doing pretty well, pretty comfortable. And then I think, well, wait a minute. Is that really the way I want to go through life, comfortable? Because if I'm not growing, I'm not helping my clients. Mm-hmm. And what are some of the indicators that you might be, tied up a little bit in this script? Are there some behaviors or results? What are some indicators?
Yeah. Well, you're essentially identifying blocks, blocks in our behaviors, money blocks, some self-sabotaging behavior when it comes to limiting our potential, especially around money and earning. And so I think a lot of people might just look at the present moment or circumstance. If someone's a high earner but has potential to earn more, what is getting in the way of them taking that next step? You might argue, well, to take the next step would add more stress in their lives currently, and they know that consciously or subconsciously, so maybe they're limiting themselves. But I would argue, go back further, or encourage that person to go back further into their psyche, into their earlier experiences around money, their childhood. So back to this idea of money scripts. Our childhoods, our environments really shape us. And so, is this individual, did they grow up in a household where their parents didn't talk about money? And the message that they received or internalized was, money is bad, or money is embarrassing, or money is something I shouldn't, pursue. Or maybe they grew up in a neighborhood that sort of shamed people that had money. There was almost some virtue in, well, we don't have money. And so to grow up and to have high earning potential, you may be battling, unbeknownst to you and your consciousness, you may be battling some of these scripts that go back to the subconscious that are playing out, where money is bad, or money is evil, or people that pursue money are greedy and therefore wrong. And so we need to identify some of these inner beliefs that we have in order to be set free from them and take the next step.
Yeah. Do you think I've heard a lot and read a little bit lately about the generational aspect of things like this? So it might not be my dad that put in misbeliefs about money, but it could have been his dad or his grandfather. Is there any generational aspect to it, or it's pretty much your parents or the people around you as you're in your formative years? They're the ones that really set the stage.
Well, we're certainly seeing money scripts are being passed down by generations. And so your parents were shaped by their parents, then they were shaped by their parents. And so that does reach you. But parents certainly have a major role in a child's life, but it's not just the parents. It's their environment, it's their neighborhood, it's their school, it's their zip code. It's just who had an impact on them early on. And so certainly the beliefs of grandparents will still shape that individual, because that's the environment that they're growing up in.
Yeah. What about sometimes I find in my coaching is that people are a little afraid to talk about money, like price. So let's say I've got a software consultant and their solution is $100,000, let's just say. Mm-hmm. And sometimes there is when do I bring it up? Do I bring it up? If I bring it up too early, I'm not going to, I may blow them out of the water. If I bring it up too late, they may have, I always say, be willing to talk about money at any time. But I think that a lot of times the reason we don't is because we have attached to the conversation around money kind of drama and what are they going to think of me kind of stuff. What advice would you have this is not about income now, this is just in talking about money? How do we make it more comfortable? And if we're not comfortable, does that say something about our subconscious?
Yeah. And I've heard you talk about this in past episodes about being comfortable with adding value, or being confident, I should say, in adding value, and the price that you pay for your goods or services reflect that. And so having some confidence in your price. But when do you introduce it? I mean, let's be honest, a lot of us, it is uncomfortable to talk about money. That's the elephant in the room. But when you boil it down to each person, there's different reasons why that might be uncomfortable. And so there's some different money scripts or money patterns that play out in people's lives. I mean, someone might be more money avoidant, where they just, like I shared before in the example, there's some belief that just money is bad, or the pursuit of money is bad, or there's something inherently wrong with someone who is seeking money. They might feel like they're being greedy by having a higher price point. And so of course that's going to play out in their hesitancy to talk about pricing. Yeah. For others, there's other motivations behind money. There's other ways that these scripts can play out. There's a script that's identified that's called the money worship script. And what that means is I have this belief. It's kind of the opposite of money avoidance, that money will solve all my problems. And if, again, subconsciously, if I have this belief that if I can just get a little bit more money, then my life will be okay. Well, my goodness, you can understand the pressure that you're putting on yourself in that sales call around price and around money, because it's not just about making the sale in the moment. It's about, am I going to be okay? Am I going to have enough? Is my life going to be good? Another one, and I'll end with this one. And another one is money worship, money status. Money status it's also a pursuit of money, but it's less about money will bring me joy in and of itself, but it's others will see me as successful. And again, you can see the layers of pressure that we put on ourselves if we're seeking success and financial success to prove ourselves to others. And so I just go back to, there's so much good to be done by doing that inner work of identifying what are these early money messages that continue to play out in our lives. And I think if you have a good grasp of that, it's not necessarily that it will change for you. You may always revert back to that money script because it's within you. But if you have some awareness of it, you can understand why you might be feeling uncomfortable or have some blocks in the moment.
Yeah, good. We're talking with Dan Pallesen today. And as I said earlier, I heard Dan on a radio show and really liked some of the comments that he made and some of the insight. Final question. What should, if we think about our relationship with money, whether it's income or whether it's discussion of money with prospects or clients or anybody, how would you depict a good, healthy relationship with money? How would you describe, if you have a good, healthy relationship with money, here's what it looks like? How would you answer that?
That's a phenomenal question. I love that question. I think taking some time to visualize your ideal life, not just around money, but just in general, what kind of life do you want to live? What kind of legacy do you want to leave? If you're a family individual, what sort of impact do you want to have on your spouse, on your kids, on your grandkids? And just have a clear-cut vision of who you are, who you strive to be, and then an honest conversation, with others or with yourself around where does money fit into that? Because I think a lot of us, obviously are striving to earn a living and earn a comfortable living. And there's some luxuries that come with earning money. But at the end of the day, money is so central to so many aspects of our lives. We live in a day and age where you don't have access to food or water or shelter or medical care if you don't have money. And so there's coming to grips with that and understanding the role that money can play in the life that you're desiring to live, I think is so crucial. And so again, not just reacting every day to the opportunities that are in front of you, but taking a step back and having more intentionality around what are your goals? How does money fit into that? And how can you merge the two in a healthy way? And I'll end with this. There's certainly ways to where we can be over focused or consumed by money in an unhealthy way. So that certainly can play out in negative ways in people's lives. But I do think more often than not, so in our culture, in our society, we shy away from conversations around money, again, because it could be impolite or we don't want to impose our beliefs on others or whatever it may be. But I do think we need to get better about just being more open with money and our relationship with money and what works well for us and what we're learning and what our mistakes have been and being more open and sharing that with ourselves and with others.
With ourselves primarily. Yeah. I was thinking about that, just let's take all the negative stuff away from it and let's just think about what it is and how to have a good relationship with it. We've been talking with Dr. Dan Pallesen today, and Dan is, can I say you're with Creative Wealth Management?
Absolutely.
Okay. With Creative Wealth Management. How can people follow you online or either a podcast or social media?
Yeah. I have social media channels. So if you just look up Dan Pallesen or Dr. Dan Pallesen, you'll find me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. My website is drpallesen.com. So that's a way to connect with me and kind of see what I'm doing. I speak. I'm a wealth manager. I do financial therapy and coaching as well. So if you want to connect with me, that's a good place to go.
Awesome. Dan, thank you so much for your time today. This has been really good. We need to maybe do this again in 6 months or so. And you've added a lot of value to this conversation. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Bill. This was a lot of fun.